you need to make an impression, and having an art of being able to carry a conversation that's not just, how's the weather? How was the drive in? Something where you have a little meat on the bones that shows that you're intelligent and can carry a conversation beyond normal chit chat is a valuable skill. And
welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Coralyn, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. My name is Jamie. I'm here with my two best friends, Jessica and Coralyn. Thank you so much for listening to us, for following us, for sharing our stuff, for watching us on YouTube, Lead Like a Girl Lab, and for buying our merch. Let's just show our merch, Coralyn, our merch.
I'm really thirsty. I need to have a glass of water.
You can purchase it on our website.
It's my favorite tumbler.
It's the best. leadlikeagirllab.com. Thanks.
If you also watch us on YouTube, you can see Jessica's ever-changing lipstick.
Yeah.
I just love this. You have this nude look on you today again, and I love it. Most of the time you were rocking the red lips. Now it's nude, and it looks your makeup's on point.
Yes,
also,
thank you.
I feel like you're aging in reverse. Like, yeah, you look great.
Okay, you guys are really, you're laying it on me. I like it. I was having a hangry day of fasting. I really appreciate it.
My daughter came home from school in a horrible mood, hangry also. And then she went to her internship, came back with a coffee, and she goes, "Mom, I figured it out. Like, I just needed a coffee. That's all I needed." So
it's so funny when you identify that people are hangry. I'll say that to my husband, and he doesn't really appreciate it. But I'm like, I just want to throw a cheese stick at you, like just from over here. Like, can you just eat that and then come see me in 15 minutes and we can have a pleasant conversation.
A cheese stick.
So
have
funny.
A cheese stick.
I was going to say in my house it's going to have to be more like a chicken wing to have.
Do we need to go back to the racial divide of food situation?
That is so
I actually had someone call me and she was like, "That's so funny." She was like, "I was laughing so hard you're talking about," but I will say that she was familiar with the hot tuna thing, and she was a Black woman, so I stand corrected.
Did she also think it's nasty?
Yeah, right. I think we all agreed upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of us agree.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jamie. But this is a perfect segue into our conversation.
Yeah.
You should go back and listen. It's episode 69 and hear about our hot tuna fiasco. You'll enjoy it. If you haven't listened, go back and listen.
It was so
and
funny.
Beans and neck bones.
And the neck bone. Oh my gosh. The neck bone.
But then you guys changed your mind when I sent you the picture of me actually making the beans.
It did look very appetizing in the picture. The explanation though, I was like, "Girl, what are we doing here?
What are we eating?"
Don't worry, you're gonna try it.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so back to the point at hand, guys. All right. So thanks for everybody for listening. The topic today is, so I came up with this because I read a Time magazine article called 7 Ways to Get Better at Small Talk and Why You Should. It's by Angela Haupt, and I was thinking about the difference between small talk, which is kind of like fluff, let's just talk about whatever, versus really meaningful conversations, and how in my life I have some people who are really good at small talk, but like horrible at the meaningful conversations. And then I have people who are really good at just sitting down on the couch with you and like you've got your coffee and you're talking about life and all that. But if you saw them on the elevator, they would be like, mm-mm. Mm-hmm. And just the difference between the two and why you should know how to kind of do both, which might be a second episode. We'll see. But there was a So I'm going to start with a quote and why I picked this, and then I have a question for you guys, which is going to be pretty fun. So there is a there's a she's it's Jillian Sandstrom. So she's actually a lecturer in the psychology of kindness. Sorry, but is that amazing in itself? There's a psychology of kindness. Anyway, when she was a graduate student, she said that she was kind of an introvert. She didn't really want to talk to, small talk was uncomfortable. And her quote was, she saw a scrumptious looking cupcake. And she said, while drool worthy desserts can't go unadmired, she approached this woman and said, and this is her saying, like, by the end of the conversation, she taught me that people can ride ostriches. She's like, that's what conversations do sometimes. She's like, I was hooked. I was hooked on small talk after that. And it came of her just literally saying, like, that's an awesome looking cupcake. So she did this lecture talking about the psychology of kindness. And she mentioned these brief but pleasant exchanges can enhance health and happiness, lift mood, energy, and overall well-being. They often promote learning, expanding people's worldviews, and contribute to the sense of belonging. I thought this was kind of a timely topic because don't we all want to figure out a way to connect with the people around, like others? I mean, of course, the people around us, but the people who aren't like us, the people that we're around on a daily basis. I feel like any way that we can figure out a way to connect in whatever that means, we should in a positive way. So I know all three of us have a significant amount of experience with small talk. So although we may not like it, I'm not saying you like to do it, but you can do it. So I've got a first minute fast question for you guys. I would like you to tell me about a situation where like small talk was uncomfortable, and tell me the story. So tell me a situation where small talk was really uncomfortable.
I'll give Coralyn a minute to think of her story.
Wait, what? You didn't read it either? Okay, sorry, go.
There's a lot of text messages. You know me, I like to practice my impromptu speaking. But I want to add that I love this topic, and like you said, it's timely because let's be honest, we are living in a time where people are more divided than ever. Social media has made us hyper connected digitally, but less connected face to face. And I think it was a Forbes article that I read that said something crazy like 49%. I just remember it being like close to half of adults say that they feel less connected, even in their own community, than they have 10 years ago. Like it's so much so where it almost feels like a completely different world.
Yeah.
So with that, I think that makes this topic exciting, and I hope that our listeners really take something from this and actually go and use it. Also, I am at a hotel right now, and I went outside to sit outside by the pool. And small talk, I love it. Like, matter of fact, I can't even stand to be close to someone and not start a conversation. Drive me bonkers. I don't care what you look like, what you smell like. I am that person that if I stand in a line at the grocery store too long, we're going to talk. So I don't know what it's like to feel uncomfortable, but I'm sure I can think of one. But anyway, I'm next to this girl. We're outside by the pool. It's only her and me out there. Okay. She's on a call and she's talking to one of those annoying AI agents of some sort. And she's saying, and we've all been there, speak to a representative, please. Speak to a representative, please. And she keeps saying, and she's conscious that I'm right there, so she can't do what I normally do at home, which is start cussing at the agent, right? Because it's not a real person. And she's like, and finally I get up and I turn around and I said, try saying live person, please. Live person, please. And it worked. And she looks and she's like, thank you. And so we ended up having this whole conversation. I will not go into it, but when I say she is someone that I was supposed to speak to. She is here doing an event with
Oh,
a husband and wife that help people become speakers, like a
Oh,
brand building type. Yeah.
ooh.
weird.
Anyway, we exchanged numbers, but I just, that's a perfect example. It literally just happened. But the funny story that just came to me is I was interviewing a guy one time, and I got in. I was always the first one. If we're doing a panel, I'm the first one on the interview on camera. And this guy comes in like 10 minutes early. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I mean, I like when
Oh,
people come early, but too early. Now I'm left to do what? Small talk with them, right?
oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, this particular guy knew me, or at least felt like he knew me because we were part of a group, and he was like, oh my gosh, Jessica. Well, behind him was who I believe was his mother
Oh,
in the background of this interview in the kitchen. He's got stuff all over the table.
That's COVID
And
stuff.
yeah.
I am fine. No, this wasn't, by the way. This wasn't
No, I
very
mean like COVID situation where you're like seeing everyone's
Right.
family.
And I am, for once in my life, uncomfortable because I don't know what to say to this guy because I'm distracted by his mother in the background, all in the camera, walking by with her plate, with her. And I'm like, what the?
What is that? Like, can we clear the room, please?
It was so,
That's
anyway.
hilarious.
Finally, the other people came in. We interviewed. The mother was in the background the whole freaking time. Needless to say, he did not go on to the next round. But that was just something that I thought of, that I was uncomfortable and I didn't know what to say to this guy.
Oh my gosh. That's the only reason I said COVID stuff was like, yeah, during COVID, I had to do so many Teams meetings and so much of that where I'm like, I can hear your TV, I can see your child, like there's a dog.
You
in
bent
your
over and I
lap.
can see you're not wearing any pants.
100%. I'm not gonna lie, I had to change my shirt today this morning when I got on Teams. It was like 7:45, and I was like, oh shoot, gotta put on logo wear. So anyway, how
Right.
about you, Coralyn? What's your awkward story?
You know, I was a new hire at a company, and I was just trying to make friends. And I had noticed like I worked at a lot. There was a lot of guys that worked at our company, and there was a girl right sitting across from me, and she's always like, she's really quiet, kind of kept to herself. But I was trying to think of like something like to connect with her because I got to be friends with the girls. And she would get up at her desk a couple times a day, and I would see her. We have a gym at our office, and she'd go over to the gym, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can go walk with her. She's like working out, and I can just go over and
Yeah.
hang out with her. Well, she comes back one day, and I look at her and I'm like, hey, like, what do you do over at the gym? And she looks at me like so disgusted. And it just kind of caught me off. Like I didn't know. And then I thought, oh my gosh, like there's bathrooms over there. What if she's got like bathroom? She was like, I don't know. And she looks at me and she's like, I'm pumping. And then I had remembered she had just gotten back from maternity leave. So she goes over there a couple times a day to pump, not to work out, not to walk, not to anything. My face got immediately red, and she just walked back in a huff. And I don't think she talked to me for like 4 weeks after that. Like she was so off put. I was just trying to like connect on some random thing. But the other thing where it's actually happened out to the good, like in Jessica's point, like I've decided, when I used to started traveling, I would always like, I wonder who's going to sit next to me on the plane, and just kind of like as a gamble, like just talk to the people sitting next to me. Well, that ship sailed like quickly. Like I am not a chatter on a plane because I just kind of appreciate people's space and they want whatever they're doing. Like if something comes up, like I'll chat, whatever. But for the record, I am not a plane chatter. Well, the last 2 times that I actually had a conversation, which this was just this last trip. I just got back from a trip, and I'm sitting there scrolling through my email on my phone, and the guy sitting next to me has a giant phone. It's almost like an iPad, but it's a phone, and he's watching a soccer game, and you can tell he's like super into soccer because he's just like, things are happening. He's got one earbud in, so he's listening, but whatever. And all of a sudden he's like, oh my gosh. And I happened to catch the replay of this kick. Like, clearly the other team scored, and he's just visibly distraught and just mad at this thing. And I just kind of looked at him. I was like, it was kind of a good shot. And he looked at me and he just started laughing his butt off. Like, he was like, and he knew that he had to admit to that or whatever. And so open up the floodgates. Now I'm a conversation person. Well, we end up having a conversation on the whole plane, figuring out this dude's a doctor. He's starting a clinic in Houston. He's looking for digital content on how to build clients. And so we had this conversation on what I know about how to build digital content, what he can use. He's a doctor. I end up having like a mini clinic appointment where I've got this like issue. Like, do you know what this is? And my doctor said this. And he's like giving me like a medical. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. We talked about so many things. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was a very fruitful, unexpected conversation from just like the side comment on the soccer game. So sometimes you don't know what happens, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love that. Do you remember a time when small talk turned into real meaningful conversation?
All the time.
I was thinking, and I'm a little bit of a plain person. Like, sometimes I'll ask, hey, have you, if it's like Costa Rica, I'm like, have you been to Costa Rica? And like, what do you know about it? Where should we go? Where have you been? What's your plan? Which led to sharing a ride somewhere. So anyway, some of that happened. But when I was pregnant with Sophie, I got on a plane for Mexico City to visit with my husband's family at the time. And I just happened to get seated next to a guy that I started chatting him up a little bit. And he was a baby doctor from Australia. And we ended up sharing earbuds and watching an Australian sitcom on the way to Mexico City. So sometimes the weirdest things come out of that. But it's good. There's this article that I read and sent to you guys, if you read, does give you some ideas on things kind of to do and not to do. One of the things that it mentioned was complementing unique forms of personal expression, but also I think that has a little bit to do with talking about common ground. So in the article, they brought up things like, oh, you have beautiful eyes, or I love your tattoo, which kind of invites them to say, here's how I got it. I was thinking about when people say, I love your dress, and you're like, it has pockets, or whatever. But I think the common ground thing is the similar concept when you are with again, you're in an airplane and you're going to the same destination, and you can say, oh, have you been here before? The other thing, quick story on my side, our Walmart in the area has remodeled and rearranged everything in the whole store. So I have no idea where anything is. And I went there recently, and I'm not kidding, at least 5 people and myself were standing in the aisle just like, where's the whatever? Like, we have no idea where anything is. And all 5 of those people I looked at, and I'm like, where is it? And they're like, I don't know. And it was just literally like not necessarily small talk, but just a commonality, between us of like, we're both in the same situation. Like, what the heck are we doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Made me think about where, like, this is, I mean, I consider it a skill, right? Where did we learn
skill,
this
I think.
skill?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where did we learn it and why?
So that is another question I had. Thank you for jumping ahead to that question, Jessica.
It's just because I read your notes.
Yeah, it is a learned skill. I don't think that people grow up knowing how to do this. We have, if you think about like a, 14-year-old at the grocery store who's bagging your groceries, they don't necessarily really know the skills on how to small talk, but it's helping them figure out those skills. So yeah, where did you guys learn how to do small talk, and why?
Yeah, before we get too far ahead of ourselves talking about the why behind why small talk is, because a lot of times people just brush off small talk as insignificant. It's just a time waster. It's just you're trying to fill the void because nobody wants to feel uncomfortable with silence. But there is a good why on why small talk is important, because you're forced into, I mean, we're not just talking about just striping up conversations in the grocery store because you're bored, but it's, you are for like, Jessica, before an interview, you're going to be kicked into conversations where there's dead time, and you need to make an impression, and having an art of being able to carry a conversation that's not just, how's the weather? How was the drive in? Something where you have a little meat on the bones that shows that you're intelligent and can carry a conversation beyond normal chit chat is a valuable skill. And I feel like where we learned it was the company 1,000% on how to build like and trust, right? And that goes into that. But it's that trust piece, I feel like, is that people want to be around people, talk to, develop conversations with people they trust. And that all starts on that point one and that small, like, can we find this common ground? How can we talk about like issues?
Camaraderie. Instant
Yeah.
camaraderie when you have some sort of commonality. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And I think the company definitely helped us learn how to do that. But I'm going to tell you, Coralyn, you actually helped me learn small talk because I was a server and a restaurant manager for years before I started at the company. So I kind of had a little bit of it, but I remember, you don't remember this, I'm sure, but I remember you and I were at a grocery store and we were checking out and you started talking to the checker about some magazine or some like thing that just happened in celebrity life. And I was like, you know what? And she was fully engaged with you. And I was thinking to myself, like, that's a skill. That's a skill.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but that doesn't surprise me.
It happened. It happened.
Do that.
Since that, you know, I do that. I do that when I mean, if I'm at the grocery store, I'm just like, you know, I compliment people if they deserve the compliment. Of course, I want to, because they should know that they look good or they should know that their nails are cute or whatever. There's a little bit of that. But I also think like you said, like it is a skill that we don't have to, but I think it helps everyone to develop because it gives you instant camaraderie. It gives you a little bit of commonality. It also gives you a chance to kind of, like in my position, I have to cold call where I walk into an office where I have to get through the gatekeeper and I have to figure out who to talk to and I have to figure out how to talk to them. And so the small talk is actually super important. That's how I get through the gatekeeper.
I don't know about you guys, but for me, I was taught that as a kid. And what I mean by taught that is because my parents, both of my parents, when we walked into an establishment, like of any sort, whether it's the doctor's office or whatever, they would say things like, "Hi, how's your day?" or "How are you?" And that's like, I do that. And when I do that, sometimes people are like thrown off. They're like surprised. But I grew up that way and both of my parents were talkers. And so I saw that growing up as being normal, that you just speak to people. Like when you're just, that's it. You start up a conversation, or like you said, I remember my mom all the time saying, "I love your dress," or "I love that color lipstick," or, just those things. And I don't think she was doing it to start a conversation. She was doing it because she really felt that way and she wasn't uncomfortable saying it to someone. So that's probably where it started. And then in my professional world, we knew that the way to build, like Coralyn said, trust before transactions, we had to be able to have that small talk. And then the rule was you don't talk about weather, because if we hear someone talking about weather, that means you're losing over there. So don't be a loser and talk about weather. Right.
Literally, that's all you're going to talk about.
So funny.
Yeah, so we were trained to really take that to the next level. But whether you're in sales or not, again, I think it's really important that people are doing it now. And what you'll find too is that it makes you feel good. I'm sure there's studies out there that when you just small talk and you learn about someone, even if it's just these small little moments, it still gives you a sense of belonging or the other person. I think it definitely, for me, I could be in a little bit of a mood. I have a little conversation with someone. I walk away and you'll realize that you feel better just in your mood than you did before, regardless of what the conversation was about.
Yeah,
So
and I think it stems from having a genuine curiosity about people. Like when you find that, like if you're kind of poking around and trying to figure out like, oh, where did you grow up, or what are your hot buttons and all, and you find the thing, it's like a little bit of a endorphin, like it's a little bit of an adrenaline rush, like, oh, we got this thing in common, like you, me, and the more I've navigated life, I feel like the more that I can be interested, curious, wanting to know about that other person and talk more about them than about me, the conversation and that relationship sticks longer and deeper, I feel like.
I think just expanding on that, you know, I'm in a sales position where I am a big part of my job personally is relationship building. And I sell something that a lot of other people sell. It's literally, it's like the same thing. So it comes down to who do you want to buy from? And if you can sit in someone's office, for just an example, and you can find some way to chat with them where they're interacting with you. Like we're actually having a fun little conversation. You're developing the like and trust, like you said, but you're developing the relationship really quickly too, versus let's say in a position like that, you're sitting down and all you're talking about is the product. You know, what's going to make you stand out a little bit? You know, when you're in that Teams meeting with 8 other people from 8 other industries and you're trying to pull together a project and everybody is just all work talk and you're the one who is leading that and you're chatting a little bit and you're getting people involved and you're laughing and you're bringing up funny things, which happened today. It was like started off with that. You're just viewed as somebody who they want to work with. They want to work with somebody that they like, right? And that's just one of the things that helps them like you, the small talk, the relationship building, the commonality, like you keep saying.
Why do you think it's hard to do the small talk thing for people? Like what is the challenge? Like why doesn't everybody say that they're really good at building small talk or having those conversations?
It's like fear of looking dumb. You know what I mean? It's fear of like, what if I ask them this what if I talk about this or that and they just look at me like, who are you and why? I mean, I think you have to be okay with like just not having an answer or not having a response, and not everybody has that confidence. A little bit, I think a little bit of it is that.
Yeah,
personally.
I think it's similar to people, you know, in public speaking or speaking in a room, even though it's just 2 people, there's just this fear. And, you know, this used to be a conversation that really just only applied to people that are in sales, but I would challenge our listeners to think outside of that, because I think it's, yes, if you're in sales, you definitely need to take notes, but even outside of that, it doesn't matter what you do. If you do not build relationships, it's going to hold you back, whatever it is that you do in your professional career. But also whether it's your kids, they play soccer, they, you know, and you're at one of their games, like all of these things are important. And again, I hope that people are just interested in caring about other people. And in order for you to be able to really dive into that and care about people, you don't know what someone is going through. You don't know what you know that can help them. Like, the more you care about other people, the more this becomes important, because if you get better at it, then you can be there and help other people more. So hopefully anybody knows that it's important.
Well, and that plays into community. I was going to bring up neighbors. I know, Jessica, you've mentioned that you're not necessarily close with your neighbors.
The most neighborly.
Maybe not like the most, but you know, that's a community. Like you're kind of creating your own extension of your community, I feel.
Do you know, I have to tell you the story. So speaking of neighbors, I am geeking out over my little mini me over here. We were out riding our bike, and this is maybe a month or so ago, and there's a house down the street that's been for sale. And all of a sudden we rode our bikes past, and there's a young couple like unpacking all their stuff. And my little guy like slows his bike down, and he's like, "Hey, are you guys just moving in?" Clearly they're moving in, right?
Yeah.
And the husband rails back and he's like, "Yeah, we are." And Grayson says, he's like, "So, all right, well," he's trying to think, and he's like, "All right, well, so we're going to make you some cookies. So we'll bring those cookies back over to you." And they're like sweating, and Grayson keeps trying to have this conversation with these guys and he just wraps it up. I'm like, all right, buddy. They're like moving. He's like, all right, so we'll come back a little bit later. And they're like, okay, see you later. So sure enough, we go make cookies and we bring them back. And then we have some more little chit chat with them and just learn a little bit about them. But I mean, I just love that. He inspired that. Like we ended up making cookies and we're like super neighborly. And that was not initiated by me.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Brad recently had a bike race with like the 6-year-old who lives next door. So a bicycle race down the road. So it was awesome. What do you think? So maybe a little bit more on the young folks, maybe a little bit more on the professionals that went from being in office to being working from home, and then you can't see people. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the difference, and what are your suggestions on the how hard it is for folks who like the difference between, small talk in person and then like the digital age, right? So like they don't know how to small talk because all they do is text. They don't ever talk to each other. And then just expand on that with, maybe adults too. Like, how do we figure out how to get back into that, to get back into small talk? What are your thoughts on that?
I will say one thing right out of the gate is that I had heard that actually it was my dad's wife told me this because she doesn't like to text a lot. And so she has this rule of thumb. She says 3 texts equals a phone call. And
oh, I like that.
And I've adopted that. And it's kind of funny because I'll text back and forth. And if it's a conversation where we're trying to plan something out or get to the chase, like it's not just dumb sending memes back and forth or whatever. But if you're trying to plan something, if we've texted back and forth a few times, I just pick up the phone and call. And it's not 100% small talk, but I feel forcing the matter of having conversations. And it's the same thing with emailing at work. If I could default and have a phone call conversation with somebody, I would pick up the phone, have a conversation, develop some rapport, and start building a relationship that goes beyond just Outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to do this thing where when we have meetings, mostly when there are maybe like 10, 15 or more people in the meeting, and I just do weird things like this, like find someone in the meeting that I don't know, maybe someone who in some cases is the most different person in the meeting. And then in other cases, it's maybe someone who looks like me, but we're the only 2 in the meeting out of like 100 people. And so in both cases, I will send a note to them directly.
Oh, nice.
Kind of introducing myself and saying, hey, would love to have a virtual coffee chat with you. So I've met so many people that way. And they were always like, oh my gosh, no one's ever, or maybe they say something in the meeting that I'm like, you know what? That's my people. Like, I know, like, I love what you said or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I used to do that all the time because it was. And a lot of times there were meetings where I was like the only person other than the person leading the meeting on camera. And that used to drive me crazy. I know we're virtual, but get on camera because it's not small talk, but it's another way to actually connect.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
like, it humanizes, for lack of better words.
Yeah, no, it totally does. That's exactly the right word. I like that. I think, and as far as like takeaways from this conversation, I think that, Jessica, what you just said, I mean, on camera, I love just, it just gives, it's 1,000 times more personal because you see me and I see you and we see our expressions. And Coralyn, I kind of love that 3 texts and it's a phone call. But I also I've got so many people in my life that are like, don't ever call me. I'm never going to answer the phone. I'm only going to.
But if you're actively texting, they're clearly there. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes people are in a meeting or whatever, but I just feel like.
No, I like that. The last thing I just wanted to sort of a little bit of my takeaway as well from just looking things up today and researching this a little bit and reminding myself of the positives. When it comes to social media, you see a lot of people's personal lives. And so, yes, they may be friends of yours, but that's another really easy way to get into a little bit of small talk. Because I've got colleagues and I've got customers and I've got people like that are part of my social media, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever it is. So I can see what they're doing too. And Strava, which is like a workout app that people that I work with follow me on. So it's when I see them where I can say, you know, simple things like, oh my gosh, I saw that you climbed a mountain yesterday or whatever. I can bring things up like the pictures of your baby are so great, or, you know, paying attention to some of that too
Yeah.
is just like a cue in. And then the only other thing I was going to mention is in terms of small talk in the business setting and the sales setting, when you're sitting in someone's office, look at the stuff in their office. We've talked about this before, but look at the pictures on the walls and look at the sports team that they like and look at the, you know, the awards they've won, and bring those things. Those are easy things to bring up when you're in person where, oh my gosh, I see that you did this. Tell me about that. What the, you know, those are very easy cues when you're in a sales setting, for example, or you're in a setting where you're, you can see what's behind them. You can see what's at their desk. And Jessica, I think that works too with the Teams meetings, where unless you have a different background, you can usually pick up on something behind them, which can lead to an easy question for small talk, and then hopefully develop a little bit more of a relationship. What are your guys' takeaways here?
Well, I'll say that I always love the opportunity, because I'm like a broken record with this in my house, and that is get comfortable being uncomfortable. And every chance I get to say that, I'm going to say that. And so this is an area where most people are uncomfortable, or you might find yourself. Do it more. You cannot grow without being uncomfortable. So you should, it may sound crazy, but you should be looking for opportunities like this to get uncomfortable, because doing this can help you grow in an area that you're not even thinking, but just because you are doing something that makes you uncomfortable. So like everything else,
and chances are the people that you're talking to feel the same way, and they're probably super relieved that somebody else took the first step.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Thank you for asking me a question.
Yeah. And again, you don't know what people are going through. Sometimes people just want to know that they're seen, and you don't know. So just asking that little question. Start with everybody's in the line in the grocery store. Start with that, you know, just
easy, simple.
Something. How's your day?
Yeah.
Today?
And if it goes bad, you probably aren't going to see them again. or it'd be your luck that you actually see them like 5 times more at the same grocery store.
You live in a small town in Iowa. I was going to say, except if you live in the small town that I do, then you see them all the time.
Yeah. And
then you have a second chance.
Yeah.
A mentor told me this one time about when I was learning more about networking in the room or whatever. And Coralyn kind of said this too. Just be curious.
Yeah,
you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Just be curious. So that's a reminder too that it's not always going to be perfect. So that's what I got.
You know, the nugget that I'll leave our listeners with is that if you do have a challenge with small talk, books are a great resource. I will give 2 nods to 2 books that I've read. One is an oldie but goodie, but it's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I kind of make a nod to that sometimes sarcastically, but it is a solid read on how they talk about or Dale Carnegie talks about kind of the science behind making friends, what it looks like. But then there's also real tried and true practical ways of like how to become friends with people in a really systematic way that's super effective. So there's that.
Yeah.
And then I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm a huge Malcolm Gladwell fan. He's very much a neuroscience, like very smart, has written many books, but he wrote a book called Talking to Strangers. In my opinion, maybe not his absolute best book, but there are some really good nuggets in that book talking about how people, like sometimes we don't want to talk to other people because we're scared of what they think about us. People aren't thinking about that. Like we've talked about a lot, that they aren't thinking of you as much as you think that they are.
Yeah.
And he also, I always remember this. He has this whole like section on, we think we're good at reading people. Most people are terrible at it. So whatever you're thinking, you know, and just going in with a genuine heart.
I'm really good at it, Corey.
Well, I knew you were going to come back with me, but like, we already know most people are not Jessica Smith.
Yeah, she is one of a kind.
It's just, but he talks about it's just like the human nature of all of us is to be in relationship. And if we don't sometimes take that step of faith or take the initiative to make that first question or have that first conversation, then you're going to really miss out on some really important gems. There's, I mean, I've had a whole list of so many different random conversations that I've had and things that I've learned and from people just by commenting on some random tattoo, like you said, Jamie, or, laughing at myself for something dumb that happened. And it's just, it's worked out 1,000 times in our favor than the couple times where it's just kind of could be a little awkward.
A little bit like, good. Thank you guys so much for talking this through. Today I found that article and I just thought this is kind of a fun, interesting topic. And I think everybody.
Good job for reading.
Hey, I try to prep. All right. But I think it can help everybody. I really do think, honestly, that this could help everyone. I think in whatever you're, and we talk about our stories empowering everyday women. I think this could help every person, young, old, in a whatever type of career. So I thank you guys. And I thank everybody who's listening to us. Again, you can check us out on leadlikeagirllab.com. You can see Jessica's gorgeous lipstick on our YouTube channel, Lead Like a Girl Lab.
I want to hear stories of people actually taking this advice and doing something with it.
Yes.
We should have an episode on just their stories after they went and did the damn thing.
We could read their emails. We could read their comments.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I like it.
On the podcast.
Yeah, they just got to tell us.
Yeah, we love it. All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you next week. Bye.
Love to do it.